You know what, family? It's hard raising kids, right? Some people have wonderful experiences. For the most part, most people will tell you that raising kids are difficult because you are literally raising a little mini you, a little mini me, because they're going to have some of your same personalities mixed in with their own. To this day, you still have some things you say, some actions you make based upon your mother, your father, your grandmother, grandfather, whoever raised you, whoever spent most time around you. And think about that. Think about that your child is a combination of the people who created that life form. And then take one of those people away from that child. Single parenthood is a joke. Raising a child by yourself, a joke. Whether you be male or female, woman or man, it's an absolute joke for you to raise a child by yourself. The most obvious reason is financially. But what about the essence of both life forms combining and feeding and educating and mentoring and nurturing that young child? The psychology behind it. But rather, us not being responsible of the actions prior to that child, we don't even encompass how difficult it is to raise it by yourself. Now, there are some cases where people got together, got married, had children, and departed. But majority of these single moms, majority of these single dads are out of wedlock, out of long-term relationship. They're for probably short encounters, been together a couple of months, a year, maybe even two, but not essentially committing to one another. Now, of course, this topic has a lot of variables to it. I'm only going to concentrate on some. But the point of the matter is, why in the hell would you want to take care of a child by yourself? Some of you, because the other parent is not fit. Again, there's so many variables, but let's focus on some things that I've essentially been hearing, unfortunately, on one side of the gender house. A lot of single mothers, from what the internet has been popularizing, is that they want to be single with their child, male or female. Now, I guess this is somewhat of a sprinkle of red pill talk, but I don't believe that a male child would be as productive and understand how to be a man without a man role model in the house. A lot of people may disagree with that because you've seen your mom, you've seen your grandmother raise your brother, raise a nephew, or so to speak, and they turned out perfectly fine. But when you take a man, you take a boy who has been raised in a stable household with both parents of different genders, the population compared to the single parent, the single mom, of their psychology and their thinking, it's totally different. When you have this term they've been using, simp, ladies would think that is today, that's male chivalry. You controlling a man, in my opinion, is out of order. We can look at the psychology of man and psychology of women. Are women incapable of raising a child? Absolutely not. Are women incapable of raising a man with a sound mind? Absolutely not. But there are some tenets. There's some energy. There's a spirit behind being a man. I want you to think about that. A presence of a man when you walk inside the door, is you let off a certain energy. Women see the masculinity in you. And that's mostly because that boy, that child, that today's man has had an example of a man in his household. Nowadays, because of single motherhood, you start to see a lot of men be very feminine, not in what you see their presence, but in their actions, in their responses. You see men becoming and being even more emotional and triggered and not using thought and sound logic before they make decisions, before they make responses, because they're acting off emotions, because that is a learned behavior from their mother. Single parenthood is a joke. And then on the other hand, you have the dad trying to raise a feminine female, but the only thing she sees in him is masculinity. The term tomboy, not stating that tomboys can be feminine or they go one way or another. I'm not stating that, but there's a balance. There's very few things that you can balance with one leg, and you can probably balance it for a while. But when you add two legs, you balance that for eternity, because the weight is equally distribute on both sides of the leg. So thus you have more stability. Very easy. Now think about that when it comes to a child. That child is only being nurtured in a single parent household one way. They're only being nurtured one way. They're only being energized, meaning the sort of energy that men and women both get off is very different, but they're only getting one side. So that nurturing, that mentorship, that energy, that spirit is only coming one way. Now, it's a detriment for little daughters just with their daddy who has their mother still alive. Okay, again, a lot of variables. And then vice versa with a male child with his mother and not having his dad in the house. Because a lot of people, oh, we do a split parent fatherhood, we go co-op parenting. It's not the same when that man is not 24 hours, 7 days a week on surveillance and monitoring and nurturing and teaching that boy. Same thing goes for the mom with the young boy. Same thing goes for the dad with his young daughter. And that is what we're not looking at. But again, we're making these very life-changing decisions. We're making these very permanent, life-changing decisions based upon fun, entertainment, partying, and not being responsible of the ramification that your actions are going to have from the day you do your deed. Oh, I'll just wear a condom, man. What if it busts? And you about to have an orgasm. Oh, you know, my pullout game is strong, huh? Doctors has proven that wrong. It's a thing called pre-cum or pre-semen, rather. But nonetheless, that's what we're not thinking about, right? And this all ties into one thing. Abortion. I said this before. I stated that majority of abortion clinics are in the Black community. And then you have a Democratic Party. And again, I'm apolitical. I'm not Republican, independent, ain't none of that crap. I'm just trying to give you my perspective on it. Tell you pro-choice that you have a choice of killing your baby or allowing it a chance to live. Well, you're going to make the best decision for you. And I totally understand. You don't want to live in squalor. You don't want to be economically deprivated because you don't have the finances to take care of the child. And even with government assistance, you'll just be barely making it, if that. So the government says you have choice over your body. Now, of course, this comes with a lot of exceptions: incest, rape, all these very unlawful ways that you could possibly get impregnated. No one is teaching the young men pro-responsibility and what could come of a child. I mean, what can come of sex is a child that you'll at least by law have to take care of for 18 years. And if not, the government will track you down and make you pay child support if you and the mother can't get along. See, the government has these ways of trying to keep men in a household and also take them out of the household. And then some of you are going to say, what I'm saying is pro-responsibility. And some of you are trying to define how we got in these conditions. Family, we didn't get in these conditions by ourselves. We had help, a lot of help. We had help by being forbidden and unlawful to be doctors and lawyers when we were released from slavery. We had help. Of being stopped from moving up the corporate ladder. We have helped of when building our own economic powerhouses, our black business districts, our black Wall Streets, that history has shown us that the government, local, national, had a role in destroying it or supporting it or ignoring it. You think when the first overhead bombing in history in America with Tulsa, Oklahoma, you think the government didn't know that happened? Of course they did. Did they give the people of the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots reparations? Did they give the descendants of American slaves, Foundation of Black Americans, reparations? No, they have not. They've had continued to show you throughout history that they only want a small, minute population of us. Because we understand when we are the majority, we have power. See, they may not be majority in the world, but they are the majority in this country. They are the majority in Europe. And because of colonization and slavery and robbing of resources that they have done, we have now landed on their soil either by choice or by force. Now we have to try to make it in a society that they created for themselves and constructed a ceiling of how you can make it. And for propaganda purposes only, we will allow some of you to make it so we can then give you a reflection of yourself doing well. That you live through their triumphs, you live through their money, you live through their status, which we know is not true. Because you can watch all the entertainment and sports and prominent people in the black community who are on TV, where you know they make millions. You could try to live your life through them, but you will not have their lifestyle. You will not have their resources. You will not have their comfort. You will not have their, networking abilities to even do better than what you will ever do. When we look at these things, family, our population continue I guess on news media and other platforms, stating it's 13.4%, but I would like to believe we're around 15%, that we're around 50 to 55 million foundational Black Americans from what they have been reporting. But they put abortion clinics in majority of Black neighborhoods. The Black unemployment rate is the highest in any other group. The Black homeless rate percentage is higher than any other group. And when I mean any other group, I'm citing from what the Census Bureau says on their website: white, Black, Asian, Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Alaskan Native, and 2 races. That's what I'm getting it from. But we would like to believe that abortion is a good thing. Is that what we're thinking? Are we thinking that abortion for Black Americans is a good thing when we're a third of the population of America and we used to be the second? That's what we think. We think that voting for that is a good thing. We think voting for the lack of resources is a good thing. That when we go up to the table and we're like, you know what? You don't have reparations on the voting block. No. You don't have reparations. Oh, no, you don't have an anti-hate crime bill for Black Americans on the voting block. No. You don't have that. You don't have wiping away qualified immunity to stop the police, or at least decrease the police from killing Black Americans in the street unarmed. No, that's not on the voting block. But you want me to vote pro-choice because we won't teach, and we know you won't teach, pro-responsibility, meaning being responsible of your actions. We won't teach that. We won't teach, think things through. We won't teach that either, right? We would teach them that they have the choice after they were unresponsible to killing the next Martin Luther King, the next Malcolm X, the next Luther Vandross, the next Real McCoy, the next Charles Drew, the next George Washington Carver, the next inventor of the internet, Emmett Smith. That is why I think pro-responsibility will always be more important than pro-choice. Because if we can teach our youth, if we can teach ourselves that being responsible of the choices you make have repercussions and actions that may last with you for your entire life, for 18 years, for 21 years. What about being responsible? What about understanding being responsible in the choices you make? Would that be better for single parenthood? Would that be better for single dads? Would that be better for single moms? I know it will. Will we have more middle class, high class, Black neighborhoods? Or the 1 or 2% of Black Americans who are middle class and higher? Do we have to continue to move to a majority white neighborhood, but maybe on a Black street, to create our economic powerhouse, our Black business districts? Or we're going to keep telling people who are fighting for reparations that they're crazy, that they're stupid, that it will never happen? Well, I can tell you this, family. People will say, I'd rather pray not knowing if there is a God, because if it is, At least I may probably go to heaven. But I know this: if reparations get passed in the form of a check that we all can agree to, all those Negroes out there who were saying that the government didn't have to do this, that, and the other, the government don't have the money, but all these instances and examples of the government having money, sending billions to all other countries. Every year, just look at the government fiscal budget. They send money everywhere. That's because you continue to look at mass media and have them to give you the news versus you go find it. They play on your stupidity. Because I can tell you this: if we had the money, would we be at the highest population of divorce? If we had the money, Black people as a whole will be doing better. If we had the money, do you believe that couples would stay together? If we had the money, would we be more responsible? See, the only imagery, the only depiction that you have of us is ratchetness, is being ghetto, being hood. But what if we had the money prior to the ratchetness, the hood, the ghetto? What if we had the money prior to then? Because we were trying to do it. We were trying to do it as a group family. Look at our ancestors. They built the lot and it was destroyed. And look how they dressed. Look how they talked. But now that we don't have it and we're not building it from a system that has deprived us and stopped us and killed us, now we don't want reparations? Now we don't want what's owed to us because they didn't pay it to our ancestors? That we are the sons and daughters? There's a debt to be paid. And the reason why I took you down that road is because, as I said earlier, everything is connected. But when it comes to single parenthood households, I'm going to always be pro responsibility, because that's the only thing that I could ever think of that we are lacking. We're getting told all of these things by a certain group of people. See, I'm grown, so I need a choice. I'm grown. Let me be responsible about the choices I make.